Welcome to Mommy Mondays with Jem Pinto and Denisha Vargas. Thank you for joining us for another episode. This one, I advise fair warning. This episode can be triggering for some. It's a very heavy episode. I'm not going to lie to you. I just want to prepare people because the story I'm about to tell is my experience in a domestic violence relationship for 4 years from the age of 17 to 21. And I was just telling Denisha, just in shock that I even went through what I went through and got out of the situation alive. So just wanted to put that warning out there and disclaimer. But all in all, regardless, there will be lessons um, that will be shared that were learned in that experience. And we also will be giving you just warning signs of these type of relationships that sometimes we may ignore. So, I'm like, where should I start?
Oh my goodness. Well, so when did it all begin? How did you guys like meet and how did you guys end up together?
All right. So I started working at like a catering hall at like 16, and it was just like busting tables and stuff over the weekends and stuff. So I got that job through one of my best friends, Eileen. So me and her were working there, and then we were there for maybe like a couple of months, and then this new guy started. I'll leave certain names out, but the new guy started, and us three all became cool. Like me, my best friend, him, like we were like smoking after work type of shit. You know what I mean? Like that type of vibe. Like we were all just chilling. And then him and my best friend started, hooking up and liking each other, whatever. And then he was always saying, like, yo, I have to introduce you to my best friend. Like you're mad funny and you're so cool and you guys are very similar. So I was like, all right, whatever. He was like, oh, he's upstate in college. I was like, all right, cool. At this point, I'm close to almost being 17 years old. So we end up at one point when the guy comes down from college, like just to visit. I think it was like, for holidays or whatever it was, and we all meet, we all chill, and we have like a really good time. Like so much fun. Like we're bugging out, we're laughing. Me and him are making the other two laugh so much because we're being silly and how we are. Like so it's a whole vibe, super dope. So then after that, me and him stay in contact while he's out still in college. And he decides that which I didn't know this, but that he was after that semester gonna come back home for a little bit. He was upstate. Yeah, I told you that. So once he came back, by the time he came back, me and him were already talking, for those like that whole month from like November to the holidays, that whole right there before the new year. So when he came back, obviously we're now in person, so things got more serious. And it was like kind of like my first, I want to say real boyfriend, because there's like certain ages you're like, they don't count, like, it don't count, like, so I feel like any other relationship I had before that like was just one of those like, oh, we dated for a month or we dated for a week, like
Yeah,
it
no,
was
we
kind of it was kind of like that, so
people.
so I would say that it was kind of like my first serious boyfriend that I considered.
Mhm.
At the time, this is very important for me to mention. At that time that I met him, I was in a very, very traumatic situation within my family. My mom was not in my life. I was living with my dad. At the time, we were living like in a like a basement apartment, just like not even an apartment. It was a room. It was a basement room with a bunk bed, and it was me and him. Um, Certain situations transpired with my mom, and it was just not a safe place to be. So I ended up staying with my dad. Well, we ended up moving, and that's where we moved to because that's all we can afford at the time. So at the time, I don't know this, but now I do as an adult, and I've, obviously went through the process of going through shadow work and doing all that. And I wasn't aware that at the time I was in a very vulnerable state. I was a young girl. I feel like the connection between a mother and a daughter is very, very important, especially at that age. We think as children get older that they don't need us more, but that's when they need us most. Even if they don't know that, we have to always make sure that we let them know that, because those are very pivotal moments in a young woman's life.
For sure.
So I of course had that void, you know. So I was also a very aggressive and angry child because of that, aside from the fact that I'm growing up in a very ghetto neighborhood, like in East New York, Brooklyn. Like, it's not for the faint. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be ready to throw down at some point. Somebody put their hands on you. Like,
Mhm.
that's how it is. So, when I met him, seeing my parents always struggle financially, or just seeing my dad at this point, just me and him, you know what I mean? And me working to try to help him, me wanting to do everything to get out of the situation that we're in.
Yeah.
So when I meet this guy who's extremely funny. So now I can escape with him, I feel like, for my just to not feel that stress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time I talk to him, every time I hang out with him, it's just nothing but fun. So now I look forward to this, and obviously that makes me grow feelings for this person. So we make it official when I turn 17. So we're like we're boyfriend and girlfriend type of thing.
Okay. Like now we're dating,
Yeah,
dating.
like now we're dating. Okay. So at that point, basically for the first year, everything was cool. Like, I can't even, like, we were just really cool, always hanging out, always bugging out, always together. Like, that's how it was. Can't complain about nothing. Only thing was that he was a drug dealer. And he was selling cocaine. So at this point, I was helping him with certain things with that. So sometimes making deliveries, sometimes helping cut it up, and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm here thinking that, not that it was cool, but like, yeah, I'm making money type of shit. Very, very immature state of mind, very traumatic response, you
Yeah.
know. When I first met him, I mean, he took me shopping on a shopping spree. Me and my best friend, not the girl, my gay best friend. He took us shopping at the Woodbury Commons Mall, I remember, and it was just one of those, driving a BMW, having fancy clothes, someone buying you, something all the time, and my young, the young little girl gets caught up in that, is really what happened, because I'm also suffering from a void of a parent, you know?
Yeah. Which can happen to literally almost happen to all of us.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I also want to mention. My dad is a fucking G, and my dad is like the best dad ever, has always been there for me. So I don't want people to think like I didn't even have my dad there. Like, nah, my dad was there, like always there for me. But you know what? My dad can only provide what a dad can provide emotionally for me. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, I feel that, there's the yin and the yang, and I'm missing one of them. So it's like, yeah, my dad can be the dopest dad in the world, but I still need my mother. Like, and vice versa, you know what I mean? Like, if I didn't have my dad, and I would still need my dad. Like, girls who don't have their dad, that's a big void too.
Yeah. And it manifests in different issues also, and like
Mm-hmm.
attracting to different kinds of men also. Like that all comes into play.
Exactly. Yes. the people you choose to date, the type of things you put up with. Like there's so much that goes into this, you know. It's not just like, oh, she's just trying to be stupid. Like when you psychologically break this shit down, like it's some real shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I get caught up in that, and now, you know, I'm just caught up with the money, not having to struggle. You know what I mean? I'm also working as well. I mean, I'm going to school. I'm graduating early, so like I feel like I'm doing good. Like I'm doing good in my academics. I'm making
Taking over the
money.
world.
Yeah, like uh-huh. I am thinking I'm the shit. Meanwhile, like I just started fucking crawling in life. You know what I'm saying? Like you be thinking, yeah, my dad used to always say that. He's like, "Tú todavía estás gateando, so cálmate." I'm like, all right. You know, like, all right. So I didn't get it, but I get it now.
That's so funny. Where's your dad from again?
Ecuador.
Ecuador. That's the Ecuadorian phrase in Dominicans. They be like, "Tú crees que tú eres gente?"
Yeah, yeah. Like, well, you young, you like, man, please, like, I'm different. You ain't nigga. I'm sorry, guys. We all are fucking stupid at one point. It just is what it is, okay? Like, it's all good. You have a right to be retarded at one point, think you know it all.
Yeah.
Life will sit your ass down and humble you real quick. So so yeah, so you know, I just want everybody to get like the full picture to this. So now here's where things start getting a little funny. So now as he's, you know, a part of this lifestyle that I'm also taking a part of. I never did it. I want to say that. I never did it. I may have like put it on my tongue or my mouth because you do that every time just to taste it real quick. Um and see if it's, you know, potent and shit. But I never like sniffed cocaine or did any of that. Never had a desire to, especially that I had, you know, family members and people that I saw around me abuse it. And so it was something I was never like, I was always like, I don't do that. The most I do is smoke weed, dude. Like I'm good on all that. But I'll sell it, you know, that's where I was at. I'll sell it, but I'm not gonna do it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, what I started to notice was it seemed like a lot of pressure for him to have to do this because this is how he was actually helping his family because he was introduced to this through his father.
Oh wow.
So let me just also mention that there's a whole nother level of trauma happening on that end on his side,
Yeah.
on his actions, his lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. And I won't get too deep into that because that's his life. But I just want to say that, like, let me just mention that, like, this is not something that this person wanted to just be this cool guy doing X, Y, and Z. Like, no, this person was actually forced into a certain lifestyle to help his family. So I start to notice after the first year that he would snap at me like, but like I'll give you an example. Let's say he hit me and he was like, yo, pick up some shampoo and conditioner for me when you get off the train when you're on your way home. And I'll be like, all right, cool. And then I'll get home and I forget, right? So I'll come home and he'd be like, where's the shampoo and conditioner? I'm like, oh snap, I forgot. I'll be right back. Let me run and go get it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, what? And I'm like, nothing. I just forgot. Like I just walked back to the house. I forgot. And he's like you can't fucking think straight though. Like I told you this before you got on the train for that reason. And I'm like, okay, and I'll just go get it right now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the big deal? Like, and then that would turn into like a full-blown 2-3 hour argument. No lie.
Wow.
And these things started happening pretty often now where it was like anything I fucking did was an issue. Like anything I did wrong. Now, at this point, I'm living with him because una sangana. My goodness. So I'm like basically living with him. And my dad, you know, at times would be like, yo, what are you doing? Like dead ass. He would be like that. And I used to be like, what? And he used to be like, just come back to the house. And I used to be like, no, I'm good. I'm good. And he used to always say, dirty money don't last. I'm not stupid. And I used to be like, okay, okay.
Oh my God.
So I'm thinking I know it all. I'm thinking that I can handle this. I'm thinking I'm mature enough for this level of emotional, roller coaster that I'm about to go on. I have no clue what I'm about to go on though.
Yeah.
So um where is I at? So these arguments start becoming more frequent and more frequent and more frequent. Now as they're getting more frequent, they're also getting more aggressive, where he's like in my face, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things like that. And I'm trying to hold my, because I have a very bad, like at that point I have a very bad temper, like bad. I told you I was an angry child, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a very bad temper, and as much as I want to like spaz on him, because I'm just like, what is wrong with you and who are you? um there was a part of my soul that was so scared, because it was like two completely different people. And it was so drastic, the change, that I was like sometimes thinking that I was bugging, making it seem like it was that drastic, if that makes sense. Because
Wow. Yeah.
it was kind of like I would like be like, nah, it's not that serious. I'm bugging out. He wasn't even, you know what I mean? Like I did fuck up. You know what I mean? Like that's where my mindset started to go to, where I started believing that I could not do anything right for this person. So then he started doing things where he would be like, in order for me to not be mad at you, you have to go get me, X, Y, and Z from the store. And you can't drive to the store. The store was about like 2 miles away.
What?
And yeah, this is crazy. Oh my God, I can't believe, like, this is crazy. Sorry. So
Wow.
he would make me go to the store, like, but it would have to be like at 2, 3 in the morning. Like it was like really late. And then just to get him to be fine with me, I would do it. And I would walk all the way to the store, and then I would walk back, crying the whole time.
Wow.
And then so that started happening. And then it started getting physical. And it was one of the times that he had asked me to go to the store, there was like no milk, and he wanted cereal, and it was like late. It was probably like 11 o'clock at night. And I was tired. I was going to college full time, and I was working full time at the time. And I was exhausted. I would get home. I would leave the house like at probably 5, 6 in the morning, and I would get home like probably like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was out all day. So I um I come home, I'm exhausted. He wants milk. Obviously, I'm like, I'm not going to the store to get that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm tired.
Mm.
So apparently I had upset him about something the other day, because that I never resolved. Who knows what it was, because it was always really ridiculous things at this point. So he he tells me that I have to go to the store to get it. I'm pissed. And then I end up going. I get so mad at myself for going, because I'm getting tired of this now.
Yeah.
At the same time, oh, I'll get to the other part. So I go, I get the gallon of milk. I'm walking back home. He's sitting in front of the stairs to the house. And I get so angry at myself. And I see him there, and I swear I just want to like kill him. I'm not even gonna lie to you right now. And I'm looking at him with this rage inside of me, yo. And I say, "You want the milk?" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Here's the fucking milk." And I threw it at him. And when I threw the milk at him, the whole shit just splattered on the floor. And then he was like, "Are you fucking crazy?" And he grabbed me by my hair, and he dragged me about like 3, 4 blocks.
Jen.
Sorry, I haven't spoken about this in so long. And I'm screaming and I'm kicking. And then this person that's in the street, it was late. Kind of like yells like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, get off of her. And he's like, mind your fucking business, whatever, whatever. And I'm like, I'm fine, leave me alone, like mind your business.
Wow.
So he turns around, like he lets go of me. He turns around and he's walking, and he's like by a tree. And I run and I kick him, and he like goes into the tree head first. And then he grabs me and he starts punching me and hitting me, and I'm just trying to fight back as much as I can. And then
Wow.
at this point we're already like walking back to the house. You know what I mean? Because it was like, that back and forth fighting outside type of shit.
Mhm.
So we get back in the house, and when we walk in the house, we're still arguing. And then he grabs his gun and he puts it to my head. At this point, I'm like, I'm gonna die.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I'm gonna die. And something happens to you in the middle of like a near death experience
Mm.
where it's like you surrender to it and just kind of accept it. And I sat there with it. I was like, go ahead, shoot me. I was like, kill me, it's fine. I was like, I would rather be dead than live like this with you. And I just closed my eyes. I was like, it's whatever at this point, you know what I mean? And then it was just all like one of those like blurs at that point, you know what I mean? I can't explain it. And then all of a sudden I just opened my eyes and he was like pulling the gun away. He went on the floor and he broke down crying. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he broke down, like broke down. And he said, I don't know what's wrong with me. And at that point, he's crying in my arms and I'm holding him, telling him it's okay. But I am just stuck. Like, am I really alive? You know what I mean? Like, what just happened? I don't know. I'm like just in a numb state of just like in this like just surreal
Different.
world. Yeah. And he told me, he said, he's like, remember those two angels I used to always say I felt on my shoulders? And I was like, yeah. He was like, I don't feel them anymore. And I was like, okay. And I was like, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. And he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, you're gonna be all right. At that point, I think I knew that like and now it all makes sense of why my soul was always so scared. Um, I think my gut knew that I was dealing with somebody that wasn't just like your ordinary abuser. Like there was something psychologically wrong with this person. And it was very confusing to me because like I said, it was night and day these two people that I was dealing with because when we would hang out with other people, we were still, all these things like he was the life of the party still and bugging out and I would just look at him like, "Oh my God, nobody knows this person's dark side." Like I'm the one that sees the dark side. So it's like it's one of those people like if I would have said anything, everyone would have looked at me like you bugging.
Yeah,
Like
like if
he
you're
would he would never, like that's how good he was. Like he was that good. But I just feel, it was just his battle of his higher self and lower self, and it was a dark one. And so as the relationship kept going, I became scared, because there was times that he started threatening that if I left him, he would kill my dad and my family. So
wow.
at that point, I was kind of getting really distant with all my friends. I was not talking to my dad as often. Um, I was trying to avoid him as much as possible because I just felt like they can read through me,
Yeah.
especially my dad. And I just didn't want, I didn't want them to know because I didn't want to put their lives at risk. That's how I felt. Like, I don't feel like anybody would have believed what I was going to say of like, nah, this person's like mentally crazy and can kill somebody. You know what I mean? So, things kept going, like fights would happen. He kicked me in my face. He spit in my face. Like so many things. He threw me down the stairs one time. And then he began also cheating on me, of course. And I was finding out these things, and he would tell me that I would have to put up with this because he had to get this out his system before he married me. Like, this is the things he would say. And I was like, yeah, no.
Oh,
So he would have the girl actually call the house, and I would listen to him on the phone with the girl. And he told her that I was his sister. And when I would pick up the phone and she'd be like, "Hi, can I speak to so and so?" She would be like, "Hey, your sister, you told me all about you, whatever, whatever. How are you?" And I would just talk like, "Yeah, I'm fine, whatever, whatever," and then give him the phone.
God, what?
hmm
That's some, you know what's so crazy? How old were you when all of that, like,
At
when
this
it,
point, I'm like 18, 19.
that's such an age where I don't know. It's something about us that we get all lovey-dovey throughout 17 and 18.
Yeah.
And I feel like predators kind of know that. And so
Yep.
they kind of try to grab us when we're a little bit younger than that. And it's always a very similar process. Like
Yeah.
everything's fine. Like you said, is the
Yep.
person that people would think that you're crazy. But these are like the most the ones that are out there to get you the most, like the
Yeah.
scariest ones, the
Yep.
most psychotic ones, the plotters, like that they have everything all planned out in their way. That's
Yeah.
so crazy in that age how fucking they can manipulate your mind like that.
Yo, he was a master manipulator of my mind. When I tell you that, like, we would get into arguments and I knew I wasn't wrong. And then next, like, I would feel like the worst person in the world because he would make all this quote unquote sense afterwards. And mind you, I had a journal I would write in, and I would write all this stuff because I was like, I couldn't speak to my friends because I didn't want to tell them because I felt stupid, because I felt like I was the girl that was always so tough. Like, Jen wouldn't deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, that's what people would think about me. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, I never thought I would deal with that. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't fucking know. I probably before that would have been like, if any man put their hands on me, yada
Yes.
yada. Ooh, well, you know what? I ate my words, I'll tell you that much, you know what I mean? So it's like I also felt like I did not have the strength to leave him. And I didn't want to be the friend that was always con la misma mierda de que me está haciendo esto and I can't leave. I didn't want to be that person. So because of that, I allowed myself to suffer basically in silence for 4 years. And I held everything in, and all I would do is I would write in my journal. And as I was writing in my journal, it was me. I would always say this was me writing to God to tell God everything that was happening to me because I didn't have nobody else to talk to. And I would always tell him, I don't care how I get out. I just want to get out alive. Like, that's all I want right now because I feel like that's all I can have. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I kept doing that. And then it was until I started like reading back sometimes like my entries that I would realize like, yo, I think he manipulated me, and that's not how it went down because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This what I'm writing makes more sense that there was nothing that I did wrong. And so as he continues to see this other girl and do these kind of things, I was not trying to be obviously sexually active with him. I mean, number one, I after the first year and all this stuff started changing, I cannot say that I was like, oh, I'm so in love with him and all that anymore, because I wasn't. I was more just scared at this point.
Yeah, trying to save your
So,
life.
right. So I also wasn't attracted to him anymore. Like I was very turned off by all the stuff that was happening, especially with the other girl. It was just too much for me. So I did not want to have sex with him. So it became to the point where, because I wouldn't have sex with him, well, he would know I wasn't asleep, but he could think I was asleep. And he would go and like watch porn right there while I was sleeping on the bed.
Oh my God.
So disgusting. I was so like, oh my God. And this that girl that he was dating, um, at times he would tell me that no, it's over between me and her. I just want to be with you. All the stuff that we've been going through is not gonna happen anymore. Like those stories were every time now. You know what I mean? Like, no, 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 no. This is not gonna happen again. Da da da. I love you. Yada yada yada. Please don't leave me. And I would fall for it, right? Because he would bring again that side of him that I was like, oh, that's who you are. That's who I met. You know what I mean? So now you're always with that hope that you were bugging and that was just a phase, and now this person is good again. And that's just you just fooling yourself, because this person has clearly show you who they are. And
Yeah.
when the is such a contrast, you know what I mean? That's very alarming, that there's the very dark side and a very light side, in the extreme sense.
Yes, it's very wide, the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, very, very wide. So what ended up happening was I started like my gifts of seeing visions and seeing things. I would start to know when he was with her. I would I would get these premonitions and visions, and then little signs would tell me that I was correct, and they were very, very creepy. And I was like, oh my God. So at this point, like I can't even be mentally sane, because it's like the whole trauma is just taking over me. You know what I mean? Now I'm shut
Yeah.
down from everybody. I attempted suicide at one point by taking a bunch of pills. So I'd also try to throw myself in front of a car. There was so many things at that point, and I was alone. I felt really, really alone. So now I couldn't take it anymore when it came to the um the arguments about sex or whatever, like, because then he'd be like, oh, that's why I fuck other bitches. I'm like, no, that's totally fine. Like, do that. Like, just
Yeah.
don't expect nothing from me. Like, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. And that's because I was, I didn't want to, like, I don't know if he caught something out there. Like, those are the things that I was thinking about. Not only that, I also did not want to take a chance in having, like, getting pregnant by this person. I was very, very scared of that. So because of that, I was trying to avoid the shit at all costs. And what ended up happening was one day he was pissed off. So
Take your time.
he forced the situation, telling me that if I have his child, he would stop doing all the stuff he does to me.
Yeah.
And then he would tell me that I have issues because of my mother, and until like I gotta fix that, and that's why he does what he does.
Jesus.
So thank God, oh baby. But that ended up happening. And then at one point, now he's like dating this girl for like 2 years, this other girl, like, and
How
one
long you
day,
still living together, right?
yeah, we were living together.
Wow.
And then she calls one day and I just can't take it. Like I cannot take it anymore. And she goes, and also because now he's playing with me, telling me that he's not seeing her, and then I find that he still is, like it was that game going on.
Yeah.
So She calls and she's like, "Can I speak to so and so?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Excuse me?" And I'm like, "You cannot speak to him." And she's like, lately when I've been calling, you've been really rude to me. Like, let's say she would call and he was there, like, he's not here, and I would hang up on her. Like, I was getting really tired of this shit.
She thinks you're the sister, so she's like, what's this girl's
Exactly,
problem?
right. So so she's like, yo, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, you treat whatever, like, you're supposed to be a sister, and this is how you treat his girlfriend, whatever. And I said, I'm his sister. And she was like, excuse me? And I was like, I want you to really fucking think right now. I want you to think long, long and hard about this. Why have you never met his family? Why have you never came to his house in all the time you guys been dating? Why are you just like a secret he has every single time? And yo, no lie, somebody in the background goes, I told you that's not his fucking sister, that's his fucking girlfriend.
Wow.
And I said, whoever that is, that's a smart fucking person there. I said, that's a really smart fucking person. And she was like, what? What? I hung up the phone. He was in the shower. She ends up calling him. He comes out the shower and he's like, you're gonna call her and tell her that you were fucking joking. And I was like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yes, you are. And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not. And so that turned into a huge fight. And he threw me into the closet and started choking me. And then he gave me the phone. After he finished choking me, I told him, fine, fine, I'll do it. I called her and I was like, I was just playing. It was a joke.
Oh my God, Jen.
Yeah. So
Like it's stupid games too at this point. It's like
that what?
I said, it's also stupid games that he's playing. Because what is
Mm-hmm.
even the point? Like, if you want to be with that girl,
Exactly.
all this stuff, like, why drag me along on
Like
this ride? For what reason?
exactly. So this transpired for some time, and then it became where this girl, after that whole incident, obviously she realized like this shit wasn't a lie. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So then he was honest with her, and then he told her that he didn't want to see her anymore, that he was going to move on with his life with me. This girl started stalking and calling and harassing me at my job.
Oh,
She started sending messages that she knew like where I went to school at. She would tell me what I had on that day. She would tell me like if you had a baby, I would chop the baby up and mail it back to you. These are the things this girl was saying to me.
¿usted es tan malo que él?
Yeah, I'm like, well, y'all need to be together because this here is a little too much for me. Yo. Like, I just want to go back to my daddy. Like,
For real at
this
this point.
is too fucking much. And so there was one time after that where we were supposed to go to New Year's from my dad to New Year's Eve is celebrated at my dad's house, and me and him got into a big fight, and he like hit me, so he busted my lip, but it was like from the inside.
Yeah.
So because of that, like when I got to my dad's house, I was trying to hide it as much as I could, but I didn't stay long. Like I left, my dad knew something was up. And then that night, I had packed bags like always, but I would never leave one of those things. And then I ended up I had my bag because I was like I'm leaving him, you know what I mean? And that's when he punched me in the car. I mean, like he hit me in the car and he busted my lip and then he kicked me out the car with the bag and I was in the street for like till like almost the morning time by myself.
What, Jen?
Yeah. And I just sat there and I would cry and I used to be like, yo, how the fuck did I get here? Like, how the fuck did I get here and how the fuck do I get out, man? So what I started to do was create a plan strategically of how I can get out this relationship alive. And I came up with a very insane plan. I said, if I pick a fight every day, maybe I can convince him. My first step was to get out of the house in peace. So I said, if I pick a fight every day, I can convince him to like that we need a break for the sake of the other relationship
Yeah.
and for me to stay at my dad's for a little bit and then we can work things out better. So um I decided to do that. And for like almost a month straight, I dealt with lots of abuse.
Oh my God, John.
And I was like, I'm gonna get out. And I kept writing to God, and I would say, God, I just want to get out of life. That's all I'm asking you to do. And he would turn into these two people where afterwards he would be so remorseful, you know what I mean? And be
Yeah.
like, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love you. Yada, yada, yada. And finally, um, it was one day we were watching some TV show and we had like a little stupid argument over it, right? And something in my soul at that point just knew that I was ready to go. So I said, I'm gonna go home now. And he said, what? And I was like, I'm gonna go home now. And he was like, I don't, he's like, you are home. And I was like, no, I mean, like, I'm gonna go to my dad's for a little bit. And he was like, why? And I was like, because I want this to work, because I love you, because every day we're fighting and that's not who we were. We used to have so much fun together. And I just feel like maybe we just need a break. And I guess all my ancestors and God was right there helping me. And he was like, okay.
You agreed?
And I was
Oh
like, oh my God.
my, oh my goodness.
And then like he was like a little upset, but it wasn't, you know, what normally was. And so I called my best friend and I said, please come meet me so and so to help me pack my bags. Please do not ask me any questions. I will talk to you guys another time and I will explain everything. I just need you to just help me today. Just get my stuff. And they were like, cool, you got it. Oh, I just have so much empathy for that little girl I was, you know?
You have to give yourself some grace because there's so many things that they just
Yeah.
in a way they have to plan out that way so we
Yeah.
can strength, which is
Crazy.
fucking crazy. Exactly.
Yeah. So they came. It was one of my other best friends, not the one that I met through, you know what I mean? One of my other best friends I grew up with. She came and then my gay best friend, he also came. And at that point, they did it. They knew something, but they didn't know, obviously, to the degree nobody knew.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
that's how psycho he was.
exactly, yeah. So, I remember my dad opening the door, and I had my garbage bags there, and I just looked at him, and I was like, "I'm sorry." And he was like, "No te preocupes, tu cuarto está ahí." I was like, that is amazing. And I just looked up. I said, "I don't want to hear anything about I told you so. I just please let me just be." He was like, okay. I went in that room. At that point, I forgot to mention that when I had turned 18, I won a settlement from a car accident I had at 16. So I had got like a check for like $20,000. So I ended up getting my dad an apartment. So he wouldn't live in the basement anymore. So it was like a two-bedroom apartment. Um, So I got him an apartment, I got him a car. So
Wow.
um I went back to my room and I remember going into my closet and closing the closet and just crying. And I knew that it wasn't just gonna end like that. But the fact that I was just not there
Hit
was
you
just,
like a ton of bricks.
yeah, it was like, okay, okay, maybe, maybe this can happen. And so at that point, he was cool for like the first couple of days, and then he started to get angry, like really, really angry.
I was gonna ask you that because I know that when you were thinking of your plan, did you go beyond planning the like fighting until you got the break? Like you were, that was the only part of
That
your
was it.
plan.
I was like, I don't know, I gotta figure this out after this.
Wow. So that must have been like a, because he didn't even let you breathe. A couple of days, you trying to recover from everything, and then now trying to think like, how the hell am I gonna get out of this relationship? Which is crazy that we never think of those situations. Like
No.
we'll always say like, oh, I would never, I would never, I would never. But in
Mm-hmm.
reality, it smacks you in the face so hard that
Yeah.
sometimes you're already in a position where you honestly, for your own safety, can't get out of that
Yeah.
situation.
Like a lot of people judge these things and they be like, oh, why you stay? Why you didn't call the cops? I didn't call the cops because I'm dealing with a fucking psycho, bro.
Yeah.
The cops ain't gonna do shit. And I understand how this system works. And you know what? The system lets the motherfuckers walk free all day. They get a
Yeah.
night in jail and then it's over.
And they go right back to the
Right
same.
back, same shit. You know what I mean? So I was very aware of that. So I was like, I don't feel the cops are gonna help me. You know what I mean? So,
No, and if he had a gun in his place, all
mm-hmm.
it's like he can, that's at an arm's reach. It's not like, oh,
Yep,
somewhere else. By the time he gets there, maybe the police will be here. It's like if you guys are sharing a space and he has that weapon available to him the whole time, like what's to say he wouldn't do something to you before, if he ever found
exactly,
out.
exactly. So what ended up happening was he started to get really angry, and then then it became, you're so fucking stupid, you ain't gonna be shit without me, I'm the one that made you, I taught you everything, blah 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 blah. You're making a big mistake, nobody's gonna love you the way I loved you, like all these things he keeps saying to me, and I'm like in my head, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously it's still affecting me because I'm also believing that I am worth nothing.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, people say that words don't affect you, but they do,
They
especially when
do.
you're in a vulnerable position where someone just fooled you to that magnitude
Yeah, like
because of your innocence. And now that
exactly.
same person that was your everything is telling you that you're not going to be able to do anything in your life. It's like, whoa, that shit affects you hard.
Hell
You have to be
yeah.
on another level to like kind of save yourself from those words that were spoken to you.
Yep, yep. And then it's like when I left, prior to leaving, because we had I forgot to mention this part. My God, it was so much. He started actually taking all my checks from my work and he would give me an allowance a week. So he had full
Oh,
control over all my money and he would give me $20 a week for, and mind you, I'm in Manhattan from the morning to the night. I told you I was going to school full time and working full time. I don't know if anybody knows about New York City, but at this time, this was in the like the 2000 era, I want to say around there. So $20 in Manhattan is like 2 days of food. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I had to make that stretch out for a whole week, and I couldn't. So I would starve a lot of days, and I wouldn't be eating. And at times that I couldn't take it, I would lie because he controlled the bank account and saw all the withdrawals and deposits. I would stand by the bookstore at my college and I would have somebody give me their receipt to their book they just bought. And I would take out money out of the account and then I'd be like, this is what I used it for.
Oh my God.
And then that's how I would eat when I wanted to eat when I couldn't take like the hunger. Yeah. So when I left, I ended up um, closing one of the bank accounts. But before I can do that, he took all the money out.
Goodness.
And so when I left, I only really took my clothes. Like a lot, I left a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. I took like maybe 2 bags of clothes, I'll be honest. And I didn't want anything else. I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted my life, you know? So I had no money anymore. I had just the clothes that I had. And I was like, I fucked up my life. At this point, I'm almost about to be 21 years old. So I feel like a complete loser. I feel like I fucked up my entire life and I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know who I am. Like he would also like he would buy me clothes and dress me. He would make me dye my hair a certain color. Like he was like in full control of me the whole entire time.
Wow. It's crazy to look
And
back on these things and be like, wow, that wasn't even me. Like the
yo,
whole
oh my god,
you think
yo.
it's you and it's not. Like
It's
that's
not. It's not. He had me with my hair like a bleach blonde fucking hair. And I remember I had left him and we were still going through all the stuff, but I remember when I said to myself, I know that I'm not going back and I dyed my hair. And it's so simple, but that shit made me feel so free. And I dyed my hair back to my natural color.
wow, Jen.
Um, and that is one of the reasons also why I don't dye my hair anymore. This is one of the reasons why I left my hair natural to be, you know what I mean? I think after that I probably had my hair dyed once and that was because I was on a show, like a TV show. And
Yeah.
they would like did a makeover thing and they did my hair. But other than that, after that I left my hair alone and I let my hair just grow out its own color. But I never wanted to dye my hair again. Um and so I'm dealing with this stuff where he's getting a little psychotic now with it. So one day he's like, I just want to talk in person, please. And I'm like I don't want to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you're not giving us the space that we need, whatever, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
This is talking way ahead
yeah,
of
I'm trying. Yeah, he's
and
like
keep
trying to. He's trying to talk to my dad. He's trying to talk to my brother. Like he's trying to talk to everybody, you know. And they don't know, so they think like it's some like, oh, he cheated on me and I don't want to be with him. Like they think it's like some little shit like that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So one day his mom calls me to pick up something from her that she had for me. And I pick it up and when I go outside, he's outside in the front in the car.
Oh damn.
So he's like, "Can we please talk?" So I'm like, "All right." So we get in the car and we're talking and I'm like, I'm not saying that I don't want to be with you. I'm not saying I don't love you. I just need space, you know what I mean? I just want to figure everything out, you know what I mean? And he was there with his apologies and so on and so forth. And then I was like, all right, I'm going home now. And he locked the door.
Oh shit.
And he was like, nah. And I was like, yo, please, like, just let me go home. And he was like, you're not gonna go home. And I was like, please, just let me out the car at least. He was like, don't get out the car, Jen, don't do that. And when he said that, he pulled out the gun again.
Oh my god.
And I was in the car for about 4 hours. He wouldn't let me go until I told him that I was gonna be with him again. And I remember calling one of my best friends and I was like, please tell him that I just want to get out the car. They didn't know that he had the gun there. I didn't want to mention any of that. I was just like, he's not letting me out the car. And they were like, so and so, come on, you know what I mean? Like, she loves you, whatever, whatever. Like, just, this is not the way to handle stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just let her out the car. You know what I mean? You guys can talk again tomorrow, but forcing her to stay like that's not going to work. Whatever, please, let her out the car. And finally, he let me out the car.
So he let you out because you called friends to basically say,
He
kind of,
wasn't letting me out the car.
oh my God.
And so he was like, okay, okay, okay. And then he said, but you got to tell me that you're going to be with me again. And I'm like, no, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. I love you. And then I think my ancestors and everybody were like, all right, it's over, yo. So about like a month goes by and no me está like jodiendo mucho, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And I'm like, that's weird. But I'm just, moving about my days, trying to get back on my feet. And then he calls me and he goes, we gotta talk. And I'm like, oh. And he's like, I met somebody.
And you're like, hallelujah.
And I'm like, oh. And I'm like,
Amazing. So
okay,
happy.
okay. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, it's all right. You know what I mean? Like, let's just see how this goes. I think that this is healthy for us. We're young, and in the end, if we know that it's us, no matter what, then we're gonna come right back to each other. You know what I mean? And nobody can stop that. Like these other
Yeah, because
games, I would say.
you also trying to like sweet talk him where
I
like you
have to.
like, oh, I'm so happy for you. Like you can't be too happy.
Yeah, but I
But
was like, all
you're
right. I was
switch
like,
on you.
yeah. So it was like, it's whack to hear, but you know what? I think maybe this is not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Especially that you're sounding like you like this person.
Wow.
And he was like, no, I do, whatever. I love you, da da da. And I was like, no, yeah, blah blah. We always gonna be there for each other. And this is where the story kind of gets crazy. So prepare yourselves, guys. As we close this story, it's gonna get real.
Hold on, John. At that point, you guys were not living together. Like he let
No,
you go back
I
home.
was, yeah, I was still with my dad. I was good with my dad. Yep, the whole time.
Okay.
hmm And so now I'm feeling like it's over. You know what I mean? And I'm moving on with my life. I had actually prior to that, um, on my 21st birthday, I had flew myself to California for the first time ever. My plan was to move to Cali right after that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I went by myself. I didn't want to go with nobody. I wanted to go by myself. I had just got out of a relationship. So I spent a whole week in Cali by myself, trying to heal and get to know myself again. And the only person I would talk to was my dad, and I would call him every night. And sometimes I would just cry on the phone, and he'd be like, "You gonna be all right? You know what I mean? It's gonna be all right." And after that, when I did that, in the mix of this, like this is how crazy like my life was. I had come home for my 21st birthday, and I also had planned a party with all my family and friends. And on that party, my brother and my two cousins got stabbed a few times off a stupid altercation outside. And I remember we were like hostage in the house for a few hours with the cops because it was a crime scene at this point. And my
Wow.
cousins and my brothers were all taken to the hospital for emergency surgery. And we were stuck in the house until the cops let us all out. But in the mix of that, we didn't have a ride to the hospital. So I had called him, even though, like, you know what I mean? I called him thinking at least he would be there for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember like, yo, such and such, this is what happened. Yo, I need you just take me and my dad to the hospital. You know what he said to me? This was like about like 2 in the morning. He said, do you see the fucking time you're calling me?
Oh my God.
I was like, I know, but I I just tell you what happened. And he was like, it's fucking 2 in the morning, Jen. I was like, okay, all right, thank you. And I just hung up.
Wow.
At that point, because I'm thinking at some point maybe I could be friends, like just dumb shit do you think, And I was like, all right, no, like this person's fucking crazy. Or like, wow, like whatever. So, anyways, after that, he meets somebody, like all these things. So there's so much trauma that I'm just trying to let you know, like it's happening at this point. Even though I'm leaving him, like I'm still dealing with other traumas, right? So now at this point, fast forward, I meet Greg at 23 years old, who is my husband, for those who don't know, for the past
Mhm.
17 years now. Um,
I
I
love Greg.
meet everybody love Greg. So I was pretty much single for the next, after that. I met, dated here and there, but nothing serious. You know what I mean? I would say that Greg ended up being my like serious boyfriend after that. I was just kind of to myself, just trying to find myself again, and who
Yeah.
I was and everything and all these things like that. So, oh wait, let me mention. I'm sorry, sorry guys, there's just so much. So, okay, here we go. 21, that separation happens. He ends up meeting somebody, right? I'm like, oh, good, fine. My brother and my cousins all end up coming out, all good. They're fine. So now I'm thinking life is getting better, right? I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, blah blah. I'm good now. I'm working again. I got my money. I'm helping my dad. I got my career's going good. I'm doing my acting. I'm dancing. I'm performing. I'm doing my stuff, right? I'm teaching with Kelly.
Mhm.
And so little did you know what your teacher was going through, right, Denisha?
Yeah. Are you gonna say the story that I think you're gonna say now?
No, 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 not that one actually. That didn't
Oh,
come yet. That didn't come yet.
yeah, because at
Um,
this point, Jen was teaching at our school.
yes.
Kelly, she was my dance teacher, and I definitely did not know. Like this was crazy to even find out years later because
I was such a
Jen
cool live teacher.
that like such a like high energetic person, super bubbly personality that was very sweet. You could tell she was from like the streets and she knew like she was very street smart, but it wasn't like intimidating. It was always like I'm your homegirl type of vibe, which was
Oh.
something that we really needed at that age in our lives. Because at that point I was 17, 18 when Jen was teaching at our school. So
Wow.
thanks for those high energy vibes.
Wow. So yeah, so I'm thinking, all is good. And at that point, one of my cousins that I was very, very close to, who was basically my brother, when I turned 22, he also turns 22 that same year because we were born the same year. I was in January, he's in June. He ends up dying in a motorcycle accident. So, um, that point is when I hit rock bottom because now I'm just feeling like there's always something. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, why can't I just have like joy and happiness in my life? Like, why is there always so much suffering? Like, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I losing everything? So I kind of spiraled out of control for a short time where I was drinking very heavily. Mind you, I was still working, I was still going to school, like nobody knew nothing.
Still
I
fun.
actually ended up quitting. I ended up dropping out of college though, but I focused more on my career. But nobody knew nothing. Like I'm here performing, doing my shit. Nobody knows what the fuck I'm going through. So I go into like a very bad depression, and I drink heavily often. And then what ends up happening is I end up crashing my car in the in on a bridge. I hit another car because I fell asleep on the wheel because I was drunk.
Wow.
And this was like at 3 in the morning. And at that point, the cops came, but I pulled a stunt so that they wouldn't give me a breathalyzer. And I'm not gonna go into that story right now, but I ended up thankfully not getting arrested, but it was definitely a wake up call in my life. And it was kind of like my sign, like, yo, chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? So that's when I really went like deep into my healing. And then I met Greg a year later. And he was just the fun life. Um, joy that I was looking for, honestly. And it was just like it was like I met him at like the perfect time. I feel like anything before that, it wouldn't have worked because I was not there.
Yeah.
I think when I met him, I was in a space where I was open to meet people. I was open to just not take my past with me, just kind of just enjoy life type of thing. And all I wanted was someone to have fun with and smoke weed and drink some honey with and and do shit like that with, you know? Like
Yeah.
I stopped drinking to that, the crazy degree, but I was still, have my drinks. It wasn't anything like alcoholism type of thing where I was addicted like that, I won't say. So all that is great, and then next thing you know, um he starts calling my job, and I'm like, fuck. At this point, I'm with Greg, I want to say like a year or more. I can't even remember, honestly, but yeah, it's about like a year and change, I want to say, maybe two, honestly, I can't even remember. But what ends up happening is he starts, you know um no, before I meet Greg, sorry, this is what it is. Yes, before I meet Greg, is when he starts calling the job.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yes, he starts calling the job and trying to find me again. Because I was in the same job like I was in for years. That was the thing. I was in the same building I was working in. And so I will go teach. It was like Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can't remember what days. I think it was one of those days. But he didn't know I would like that. He didn't know I would teach at a school though. He didn't know about the old job because I was there for such a long time. The stuff with Kelly and that dance school was new. So he didn't know like certain other places that I was working at. So he ends up calling me, and I'm trying to like, just avoid him. I don't want to talk to him like that, whatever. And then he ends up I'm leaving to go to teach, and he ends up showing up at the job. At this point, I'm like, I can't go to the school because I don't want him to do anything to the kids at the school. I thought about Kelly. I thought about you guys.
Fine.
And I was like, yo, I can't go there. So I started like walking, but like finding places to go, like trying to find different places to go. Like
Yeah.
as he was walking with me. And so he was walking with me, and I knew he had the gun on him ready. And he was like, he just wants to talk to me, you know what I mean? And I'm like, yo, there's nothing to talk about. Finally, I ended up hitting somebody up. I like to sneak to text somebody, and then the cops came where I was at. But it was like one of those things where they just took him, and then that was it. I didn't hear nothing about that situation, and they probably just let him out, I'm sure. And so now I'm just, obviously scared again because I'm like, what is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why is he coming after me again? So now at this point, he pretty much like leaves me alone. Like, he doesn't really like, I don't hear from him like that. You know what I mean? If anything, at this point, my space was out, and he would like hit me through that or stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you look pretty in this picture, but like wasn't, jodiéndome like that. And so there was somebody that I was talking to at one point that he knew I was talking to at one point too. You know what I mean? Nothing serious happened between that person, but like he knew that I was seeing other people like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then now fast forward, now we're up to this where I meet Greg, all is good. I'm enjoying my life with Greg, and then he starts again. He calls the job again. But then he's like, no, I'm not here to bother. He's like, I just need someone to talk to. And I'm like, what happened? So he says, I'm doing to her what I did to you, and I don't want to.
Oh my God.
And I said, I think you need help. I think you need help. I think you need to go somewhere, maybe talk to somebody. And he was like, she's not understanding that I do love her, not and that like I don't want her to leave me. And she's, he's like, but I think she's gonna leave me. And I'm like, if she needs some space, like give her some space. And I was like, but I really think you need help. And so I was like, I can't help you. You know what I mean? Like I don't know what to tell you. So he was like, I love her, da 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 da, like all this stuff telling me. And he was like, you're like my best friend. I could talk to you about anything. You always listen to me. And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is then I actually get a call from his brother telling me that he's in the hospital. So I'm like, what's going on? I don't get a clear response pretty much. It's more of like there's something mentally wrong and he keeps asking for you. And I was like, I can't help him. I'm sorry. I can't help you guys. I can't help anyone and I cannot help him. Like, I'm sorry. I think he just needs help. So they were saying that he was diagnosed with something, but again, it was very vague always.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is, AOL Messenger. That was this is the time I'm talking about. Really old school. So I get a message, again, maybe like a few months later after that whole incident, and they're like, he's dead.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, what happened? So they tell me that he got shot, right? So I'm thinking, maybe something with drug shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like some drug related incident where it went wrong.
Right. So that's the first thing I'm thinking. And then I call my best friends, of course, and I tell them, and they're like, "But what happened?" I'm like, "I don't know." So one of my best friends, you always have that one best friend that's the
The,
fucking
the one
FBI fucking agent,
and that could
the fucking hacker FBI gets all the fucking info you need, right? So she hits me and she goes, do you really know what happened? I'm like, nah. And she's like, because I just found the daily newspaper for the front page of yesterday's paper.
oh my God.
And she sends me the article. And I read the article. And it talks about a 21-year-old girl was getting abused by her boyfriend. And she was trying to get away from him. And she ended up moving to the Bronx with her brother to try to get away.
Oh my God.
And there was an argument that happened at like 5 in the morning in the Bronx. And he shot her in the back of the head.
Oh my God.
And then he left the scene. And then the cops went to his house. And when they busted the door open, they said that the dog tried to attack them, so they killed the dog. There was a dog we used to have. So they shot the dog, and then they said that he had put a bullet through his chin.
Wow.
And he had called his best friend the morning after he did what he did to tell him what he did, and apparently to tell him that he was gonna take his life. And he gave him instructions on things to give to certain people. And then he said that he wanted to tell me that I was one of the strongest women he's ever met, and that he knew one day I was gonna make it big.
That he knew one day you were gonna what?
Make it big in like my
Wow.
career. And he had got like some tattoo That represented his mother and me, he said, because we were the strongest women he knew. And then I had went to the house the day it happened, the day after. Um,
Mhm.
There was still like blood splatter and stuff.
Wow.
And then I look on the computer desk and I'm like, that's my handwriting. And I start to look and I noticed that it's a letter. It was one of my letters that I wrote to God about what was happening. I'm
Oh,
sorry. Hold on one second. My kids are doing the most. So it was actually one of the letters where, can you hear me? Sorry.
yes, I hear you good.
Okay. It was one of the letters that I had written where I had like broke down like everything that was happening and how much I hated him and how much I just wanted to leave and how I wanted to leave alive. And
Oh,
that letter was sitting right there. Um, yeah.
no. He took that girl's life, and I'm pretty sure through this time, you're just sitting there basically thanking God because one, that girl was trying to do exactly what you were doing.
Yeah.
So
There was
I
a
feel like,
story that she had got because like the title was like basically like on some like the system fails us again because apparently she had an order of protection on him
wow.
and they dismissed the case. Yeah.
Wow. But also, it's crazy how we can see that the system doesn't help women in these situations because just the simple fact that he had you with a gun to your back for God knows how long and he got arrested, but he was in the streets again.
Yeah.
Like that goes to show how the system isn't really protecting women that are in these types of situations, especially young women that like how far can you think when you're just barely trying to survive and someone's
Yeah.
mentally manipulating you? Like that's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane. And there was so many people that didn't know I left him because I just kind of went ghost, you know what I mean? I had moved to
Yeah.
the Bronx at that point. Like I was out. Like nobody knew me in Queens of Brooklyn anymore. I was gone. Um, and so there were people that were like coming to my, my brother or whatever, like, oh, I'm sorry about your sister. And they're like, nah, my sister wasn't with him no more. And so prior to that, I had sat down with my friends, my amazing best friends, and I told them everything about what really happened. And of course we all cried. And then my dad, one time on a ride to Pennsylvania to go see my cousin when he was alive, I told my dad everything.
You told your dad everything.
Because he was like, what happened to you?
Oh my God.
He was like, yo no sé qué te pasó, pero qué te pasó.
That crazy intuition that our parents
Yeah,
have to know that something
yeah,
is like wrong with us
yeah.
deeply.
And my dad, I told him the truth about everything. And, I had no idea that after that, my dad actually was watching him and following him because my dad had plotted to do something to him.
Mm.
And I didn't find out till after he transitioned that my dad was like, I hate to say this, but I'm glad he's dead. He's like, because yo pensaba matar a ese hombre. And he was like, porque siempre te jodía. He like he wouldn't leave you alone. I'm like, I know. And so, um, you know, it's one of those things where I just feel like do not ignore these certain red flags of somebody's temper. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of trauma that we're unaware of, and that's not to justify what this person did, But when I look back, like there was a great person inside of there. There was. And I met that person at one point. You know what I mean? I don't think it was a facade, that person that I met. I think it was genuinely who he was.
Mhm.
And I think for whatever reason, whatever things his darkness of what he went through, I think overpowered that and took over, his mental state.
Yeah.
And, some people ask, like, was he using any drugs? I can't say. I don't know. I never seen it. So I don't know, you know what I mean? But either way, there was something psychologically off. I am aware of certain abuse he received as a child as well, physical abuse. So there's so many layers to this. And, you know, I I I I remember always telling him I forgive you, because he said I can never forgive myself for what I did to you. And I would always say, I forgive you. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I did forgive him. I know there was a lot in there that he had to deal with. And I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for all my, you know, protectors spiritually that I can't physically see, during every days. But like,
Yeah.
but I know that I am protected. The situation, I could have easily been that girl and not
He-
be here telling this story. You know what I mean? I could have easily been that girl. And this is now, I think, will all make sense of why, when I mentioned before that when I had my daughter, this trauma resurfaced, because it was a little girl, and I thought about me. And I
yeah.
thought about, I have to do everything in this world to protect to the girl, so she's never in a position to feel that vulnerable to fall into anything like this. And that's not to say your child ain't gonna meet some asshole motherfucker at some point. You know what I mean? Like, boys are
Yeah.
gonna be boys at some point too. They got their learning to do. But my goal is to raise her the best way possible, so that just, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of what I got out, like the situation and how my thought process was really how my dad always had me thinking. And
So
it
yeah.
was it was a very survival mode, tactical, strategic way. And that's how my dad has always been with us, because that's how he survived in life.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. Like, I'm very grateful that I got out of it. I'm very, grateful that I was able to, after that, find, obviously your healing is time that is always gonna be there. But at the time, I was able to heal enough to at least bring the energy of somebody like Greg into my life, and
Yeah.
that type of, you know what I mean, like energy. Like, I was in a great space at that point. And what I loved is that I was very open with him about that situation. And when he transitioned, my ex transitioned, I was with Greg already. And I remember wondering, should I go to this funeral? Should I even go see his mom real quick when I went to the house? And he was like, yeah, like, you gotta get closure, you know what I mean?
And it's
No.
crazy because after going through a situation like that, what we as women mostly think, or even men that are going through something, similar, because men get abused also.
Yep.
But the thoughts that go through our minds when we go through situations like this is very much our self-worth goes real down because
Oh yeah.
we don't believe that we deserve anything. And so the fact that you were still able to open yourself up, like with Greg, and be honest about the situation, I feel like that was such a good moment to realize that, like, yo, those moments don't really define our whole life. Like,
No,
you would
they
have
don't.
never
Like,
in that moment. Go ahead.
I will say I was meditating a lot. Like, there's a lot of things that I was like, that's when I started meditating. Like, I was meditating a lot. I was working out all the time. I was teaching. Like, I was like, things were going really, really good when I met Greg. And I was in a great mental space where I was able to receive him the way I was. And it just felt like there was no pressure with him. It just felt so much like I'm just having a good time right now. And that's all I want right now. Like, these past couple of years have been fucking crazy. I'm just trying to chill and have a good time. And if you ain't trying to do that, then I got time for you. Um, but but yeah, I remember prior to him, that situation happening, telling my friends that I thought he was capable of either killing himself or killing somebody else. And I remember, a few of them being like, all right, I think you're overdoing it with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was until he did it. And they were like, holy shit. And I'm like, I told you, I knew who I was with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to hear
Yeah.
the deepest part of him that nobody was able. And it's so crazy too, because I'm not trying to defend his situation, obviously, but we have to also understand that this all again circles back to the knowledge of self and understanding
Yes.
psyche. Like that person, he wasn't doing that because he wanted to. He needed escape from his own like problems that he was dealing with, which I'm pretty sure not only came with like the karma that comes with dealing with that type of business, quote unquote, like selling
Yep.
drugs, like that's something that within its own is already affecting someone psychologically, physically, mentally. And then on top of that, being that his family is already doing it, now that adds pressure and a strain and a like father son relationship, like all these things affect us in certain ways that make us act different than what we truly and who we truly are.
Yep.
So it's important to also recognize these patterns in people, not to say like, oh, every person that like went through something traumatic is like gonna have mental issues. It's not that
Right.
way, but people's spirits are stronger than others. And while you
Yeah.
were able to survive something like that, he wasn't.
No, exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
spiritually, like we all have so many different things going on that we need to start catching these like red flags, recognizing when people change their tones, when people start acting different. Like
Yeah.
crazy because we have much more control over these like relationships than we like to imagine. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And you know what? I want also people to know, like, if let's say you have a friend that's maybe in a situation like that, I want you to really have some like serious compassion and empathy, because a lot of times we can do the I just leave him. And it's like you don't know, like nobody knows anybody's for relationship except the two people that are in it.
Exactly.
And that's just real talk. So it's like you don't know to the depth of what goes, but just if anything, the best thing you can do is just be like, yo, I'm here if you want to talk. That's it. No judgment, bro. You don't need to tell the person leave him. You don't need to tell the person what to do. Sometimes they just want to talk and cry, yo. And
Yeah.
let them do that. Let them do that because they need to do that. And that's how you find your strength and your healing is by letting it out. You know what I mean? Like, yo, there's a time like now looking back, my best friends start to see like the signs of different things because yo, there was one time, let me just say guys before we close. um I had caught him. I knew I caught my it was our car. I caught the car and he was with the girl in the car.
Wow.
And my homegirl is driving. I see the car. I said, pero un momento, este carro de este. And I said, oh shit. So to want to catch it in person and be that ghetto stupid young girl, I'm like, follow the car. She's like, what? I'm like, follow
Oh
the
my.
car. Yo, he knew we were following him. Yo, she's speeding, found the car, not knowing what the fuck is going on. She's like, yo, Jen, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, follow the fucking car, bitch. She's like starting into all this shit. Yo, crazy, yo. He gets away, whatever. I never talk about what the fuck happened. And she's just left there like, what the fuck was that?
Yo.
What the fuck was that, yo? And then afterwards, of course, when I open up to them, I'm like, yo, it was the girl. He was with the girl. She's like, oh my God. Yo,
Wow.
it was shit like that. Like it was crazy shit. But I
True,
had
yo.
yo,
True friends, 'cause
real talk, yo. I was just gonna say, I'm like, I really am grateful for the friends that I have that, at times when I was distant. And that's another thing. If people are distant when they're in a relationship, that's also like I don't want everybody to think it's a red flag because sometimes you just parenting and mash shit is going on. And that's why you distant.
yeah,
That's
I
not
know.
the case.
'Cause
But
start shaking my
but
head,
I'm
girl.
talking about like young relationships. There's no reason like when you're in your young relationship that like you shouldn't be talking to your family. You should always be like able to be with your family, be with your boyfriend and your significant other all the time with everybody. You know what I mean? Like that's how it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. And I know sometimes, life, but if you're young, I'm talking about like if you're young and in a relationship and you don't have any children, right? There's no reason, like, don't ever disconnect from your family, man. Don't ever disconnect from your family. And also, you know what? Sometimes we're afraid to tell certain parents, let's say certain things, right? And you may not realize that if you break that wall with your parent, they will open up so much
Yeah,
and
that's true.
like really like be like, no, I'm here for you. I just didn't know. You know what I mean? Like kind of like that. And I'm not saying every parent is like that. I think you can gauge yourself, knowing the energy of your parent, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By how they raised you, but I just want any woman that's been in this situation, or if you're in this situation, like know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. um it's hard for me to say like go to the cop or go to it's so hard for me because my situation was very different, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um I think trusting yourself and your gut on what's the best decision to make, I think that's something you're gonna have to figure out on your own. And I hate to say that, but that's just real talk,
Yeah.
because there's no like one straight answer on how to deal with this. But there is the if somebody's showing you two, like I said before, completely drastic different sides to them, that is a very, 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 very red flag on some excessive trauma that's there.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the punching bag to that.
And this
Because,
is
go
also a
ahead.
good thing to mention, like setting boundaries with people also. Like if we understood how to do that properly, we
Yeah.
would just dodge so many situations in life, because sometimes we are too compassionate towards other people and not so much compassionate over ourselves.
Yeah, we're trying
And
to save somebody every time.
exactly. And it's like we can easily, especially when we're young and ignorant, we can get caught up in the cycle of like, because we as women also, and this is just in our DNA, we're nurturing and forgiving.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can get those things mixed up. So just understanding, if you don't want to spend time with someone, be honest about it or find a way
Yeah.
out of the situation. If you see that the person is like, it's the attitude switching is too much. Like you have to set the boundaries. Okay, you know what? Once you raise your voice, we're no longer in conversation. Like, because if you can adjust these behaviors in someone, they'll understand that you're not the one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
setting those boundaries can save your life.
Like it's like this. It's like we all know that sometimes, even let's say if it's not even abuse, but like somebody's not faithful, like there's all these things that our gut intuition always tells us, I feel like. And I think when it comes to relationships, especially when you're young, we ignore that so much. And it's like, don't ignore that and don't be afraid to be alone. If there's anything I recommend, yo, enjoy your life like alone. Travel when you're young. Like you don't need to rush into a relationship. The person you're gonna meet, you're gonna find that person at the perfect time. I promise you. But I
Mhm.
recommend any young person to go out there, make your money, enjoy life. Don't just hold on to this shit. Like travel, get to know yourself more. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I lost myself. I got into this relationship at such a young age, and then I was 21. Like, who am I? You know what I mean? Like what's going on here? You know what I mean? And trying to find my identity on what are the things that I do like? What do I want to do in life? What is my career? What do I want? This and that. What type, what type of relationship do I want to be in? What type of boyfriend do I want? Like it's so many things, and you're not gonna know that until you really we talking about knowledge yourself. Tap
Yeah.
into yourself. Like them babies, that husband that you dream about, and that family, it's gonna come. It's gonna come. Don't rush it when you're young. I promise you. I promise you. If there's anything I can say is that if you focus on yourself and your joy and getting to know who you are, the perfect person you're gonna meet that's meant for you, and you're going to vibrate so high that that's the type of energy you're going to receive from that person. You're going to receive somebody vibrating just as high. I was vibrating very low at the time when I met him. Let's think about that. I was vibrating very
Mm.
low, and
It's like that's the same type of energy that we
that's the
attract.
same. Yeah, like I attracted somebody with a very low vibration as well. Like yeah, all the laughter and all these hugs, and I mean all the laughter and good times, but we all
Those are
knew that I
how
was
you were.
suffering from something inside,
Yeah.
and that became my escape. You know what I mean? But in reality, I was going through some shit at the time. So I was in a very low vibration, you know, and when I met Greg, I was in a very high vibration. First of all, what the fuck? I was in a very low vibration. And when I met Greg, I was in a higher vibration. And I was, that's when I actually got into um eating plant-based because I had gotten sick, like, with my health, with my reproductive system, I had gotten really sick. So I had to change my diet immediately. So I was on like a plant-based diet. I started meditating heavy. I had a personal trainer. I was working out like 4 or 5 days a week. I was meditating regularly. I was doing also qigong meditation at the time. Like, and then I was performing at the Laugh Factory all the time. I had just finished this dance tour. Like, I was on a roll, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then I meet Greg, like that's where I was at. I was in a great space. I was always bugging out. I was having fun. I was going out, enjoying myself. I was making my money. I was making good money. So I was vibrating very high, honestly, when I met him. But my children are going crazy right now. So I have to get off soon. But I just want women to know that you kind of got to assess your situation differently for what it is, and follow your intuition. If you do have somebody that you can talk to that can stay on the same page with you, if you're in a situation where it's just like, as I was, very dangerous, I'm sure if I would have went to one of my friends and really broke it down, I know they would have been there for me and not said anything. You know what I mean? Like, I know they would have tried to help me. Like, all right, let's figure this out, yo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know that. I was just afraid for them, which is understandable. So because of that, I just feel like the fact that I was doing this for so long by myself is what destroyed me, and why I had to deal with a lot of healing and recovery afterwards when I had children, because I left the situation. That's all I did. I kind of just left it. And then, yeah, I was doing stuff that I was vibrating higher, but that situation, I never really understood what it did to me.
Yeah.
I didn't break down like who I became after that.
Yeah.
And it
Great.
wasn't until, yeah, I had children, I was like, hold up, these are the reason why I have these like anxiety. This is why I have this is why I have that. I ended up finding out I had PTSD. Like, there was so many things I didn't know,
You
you
can
know?
always connect the new habits that you've developed or your new forms of escape through the traumas that you've gone through. So
Yes.
understanding anything can be trauma, which is like a parent, your parents separating is a type of trauma.
Yes. Yes.
You not knowing some sort of information about your past that you feel like people are hiding can be some sort of trauma. So just recognizing the trauma to then recognize what were the effects of it can help you so much in situations like this. And like Jen was saying, they're gonna remain in you until you give it that breakdown, until you can put your
Yeah.
finger on it and say, you know what, this thing that I'm putting my finger on is not actually a part of me. It was something I developed in trying to survive and cope with my
Yes.
situation. So
Yep.
it's very important to do that with absolutely everything we've gone through in life, to separate what is truly us from what isn't really us, and the, again, behaviors we have developed because of surviving and coping.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what's crazy is, like, there's so many more insane details to the entire relationship that
I bet.
I don't mention, just for it's just very, very
We don't have enough time.
I don't have enough time, and it involves just other people that I don't want to, put their business out there, whatever. But there was a lot that I witnessed, and I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful that I can share this story and hopefully help somebody else. um if anybody has any ever questions, I'm always open to talk about stuff. I've done my healing with this. Today was just like, whoa, when I look back, it's just like I cried for that little girl. Like, damn, and I just want to make sure that now I just make sure that I'm always there for my daughters, you know what I mean? And they don't have that void. Not with me, not with their dad. Like, they always have us there. They never feel like, you know what I mean, like they're missing something. Listen to your children, be there for your children. If you sense anything like your gut about them going through maybe a difficult relationship, whatever it may be, even if it's not as drastic as mine, um make them comfortable to know that they can come to you. My dad was always like that, like, yo, whenever you want to talk, I'm here. You know what I mean? Type of stuff. Like, even though I'd be like, no, I'm good, I'm good. He was always just letting you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. I love you no matter what. But if you want to talk about something, dímelo. You know what I mean? Type of thing. So make sure also just parents, be very, like I'm learning a lot about the emotional and psychological mind of a child, girls. Um, and I'm seeing that we try to disconnect them so much from us because we want them to be so independent, but they need us the most. They yearn for that connection. They yearn for that attention. They yearn for that energy from you because you're their parent.
Mhm.
You made them. You know what I mean? They need that. They need that. No matter what you go through with the person you're with, never disconnect that energy you have with your child because that has nothing to do with nothing.
Yeah.
Like, never stop being a parent, no matter even if you're with or not with your significant other. And on that note, we will close tonight's session. Um,
Oh,
thank
I
you for listening.
do also want to say thank you to you, Jen. I know usually you're the one saying thank you at the end for like me sharing my stuff, but I wanted to say thank you because not only are you bringing awareness to the subject and I don't know helping someone out there, but also it takes a lot to do what you did today and relive that whole situation for the sake of knowledge and information and awareness. And so, just for not only myself, but I know a lot of women out there that are going to listen to this and be grateful that they're not in situations like that.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for knowing better. Thank you for keeping it going. Just thank you for your bright light because it's helping a lot of people.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you now.
All right, y'all. We will catch you guys next Monday. Peace out.